and we'll see what happens. Listen, if Islam may retire.
I can feel him. I can feel
He's
him.
done a lot. He's competed in 2 different weight classes and won world championships in 2 different weight classes. If he beats Ian, if he submits Ian and says, I've had enough, I'm going to do what Khabib did and I'm going to coach now, I could see that. And then I could see Morales protest for the fucking undisputed title.
Yeah.
Feel great. Something's new, you know, for our team also, for our country also, you know, become to double champ for my life. It's my dream, and I always, when I fought in lightweight, I'm like big for the lightweight, you know, and always I had not some problem, but always have to follow the diet like 2 months, and you know, now when become welterweight, it's life is differently changed, you know. I enjoy everyday training. Still now, like 1 week before the fight, I eat and I come with all team to the sauna. I go with like team to the restaurant or sauna, you know. I enjoy every moment from the camp.
Islam Makhachev is 5'11", so huge height discrepancy right there. But we're gonna break down Islam Makhachev to see how he gets it done. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you like, subscribe. Also, hit the bell to never go live. Now, this fight, Islam Makhachev.
Islam Makhachev looking to extend his record to 17 wins. If he does that, he'll have the longest winning streak in the history of the UFC. Right now, he's tied with Anderson Silva at 16. So, Islam Makhachev looking to break some records this weekend.
And what's making it more, I mean, Anderson was crazy, his record, but what makes it more impressive is he's clearing out weight classes, you know? He's beat the best 45er, cleaned out 155, went up, took the belt from the 170. That's what pound for pound really is.
Yeah.
I mean, Anderson Silva did go up in weight,
did go up
but
in
he
weight,
wasn't fighting for the belt.
Yeah.
He did fight Cormier, and that was after I had fought him and stuff, and he was a very, very close fight, competitive.
But when he went up in weight, he went up and he kind of fought. I mean, he didn't fight the best of the best.
But when Anderson also
fight John Jones, I remember him saying.
But the majority of his wins and this record that he has was title defenses too.
Anderson, yeah.
Which is that's a different level. I think it's really hard to defend your belt that many times.
Yeah.
I mean, you could go
every
back
time
and
you're fighting the absolute best.
The best guy, and they already know what you do, and they've been working on everything to capitalize. But
I get that, but we also got to look at
the quality,
depth of division, right? So like the depth of.
I'd like to be there with you, but I just can't. And Ian's ability to draw, even if it's with booze, his ability to draw. Who wins?
Bro, I think of course Makhachev gonna win.
You think Makhachev wins?
I think, but I truly believe Ian Garry have really good skills to beat him, you know. I think Makhachev gonna win because Ian Garry is the underdog. So he's Makhachev is a double champ, you know, a really good fighter. But I really believe like Ian have a really good skills to beat Makhachev.
Yeah. Who would you prefer to fight at the end of this thing, right? Because I know a lot of people say, if you're next, right? A lot of people will say stuff like, I want to beat the guy, right? So if Islam's the guy, if he's the double champion, he's been in both weight classes champion, I'd rather him be the person that I beat for the belt. But on the other hand, you have Ian Garry, a guy who owns a victory over you that I'm sure you would like to get.
Yeah, I mean, Bilal Muhammad is not near what Islam Makhachev is on the cage or on the ground, and he was able to have success at trapping Ian up against the cage. And everybody knows that fights start on the feet, but the cage is also a very useful tool to get somebody dragged down to the ground, and Islam's team does it better than anybody else. They kind of wrote the blueprint for how to use the cage as an apparatus within the arena and have success. All of the chaining chaining. We call it chain wrestling, but now it's like chain cage work, right? The wizards to the underhooks, to the body locks, to dropping down, changing levels, getting to the legs, and finding your way to pull somebody down off the cage. Islam's better than anybody at that. And we saw Bilal Muhammad have some success against Ian Garry. Multiple times he was able to trap Ian, and I don't even think Bilal's striking is near as good as Islam. So Islam pushing that pressure will get Ian Garry backed up against the cage. Probably not in the first round or two, because like we said, Ian's so good at lateral movement and staying long and staying away from the danger. But eventually he's going to wind up with his back against the cage, and he's going to have to deal with Islam's body locks and Islam closing distance.
I see it as a real test for Islam. Obviously, he beat JDM and became the champion, and JDM was the champion and had a really good run leading up to that fight. But I feel like, all right, this is a real welterweight challenge in the way that Ian Garry is a true welterweight, and he's going to pose those issues that we have questions about. Do you think he's the hardest fight for Islam Makhachev in the division right now?
Yeah, he probably is. Yeah.
Do you reckon it's between him and Morales? Probably. I mean, Shavkat
Morales is a beast, but he's not as his defense is not as refined as Ian's. I mean, again, I'm going to say Ian's footwork is very good. His distance management is very good. He's got a very good series of lancing attacks. His takedown defense is excellent. Shavkat didn't get him down until like the 4th or the 5th, and even then, yes, he did get him down. And so I think this will be kind of interesting to see what kind of takedowns he uses. If you guys recall. I think for me personally, it's very, very difficult right now to pick against Islam Makhachev. This is not some grand revelation. He's the pound for pound #1 guy in the sport. So like, this is, I'm not like blowing your audience's mind at this present moment. But I think what I would say is this is exactly the kind of fight that, like, how do I say this? When I see elite guys get tripped up, it's often in scenarios like this, where they're fighting a #1 contender, but the fan base might not really respect the B side, or they might begrudgingly respect that he deserves the title shot, but he doesn't have much of a shot, and they're nonplussed about his offense, and he doesn't have the same level of a distinguished career as the champion by any stretch of the imagination.
Bro, that lose to Ian is still hurting me a little bit, It's still a little bit painful,
Why? Do you think you froze up a little bit in that fight? Do you think you froze up a little bit in that fight?
Bro, I hate lose. I'm really bad loser, I stopped to play soccer and like collective sports, because when you lose, I fight. Like usually I fight somebody or things like that because I hate lose. So that lose for me is still a little bit painful. So I think me and Ian, we still have some business to do.
So you'd prefer Garry be the guy that's holding that belt?
Yeah.
They both would be good.
Do you know what? I think this is going to be Islam's toughest fight that we've seen recently. I think that stylistically, Ian Garry is a pretty bad matchup for him, to be honest. He's long, rangy, moves really well. You don't often see him getting taken down and held there. Super tall, super elusive, elite striking, judges the distance really well. He's young, he's fresh, he's not had loads of damage or anything like that. He's not got a lot of miles on the clock. But then we're talking about Islam Makhachev, mate. In my opinion, pound for pound #1, or in the argument at the minute for that. Once he gets hold of you, you're done. He's got that left head kick. People are saying, there's reports across the board, he's the strongest person that people have ever fought. Apparently he's so physically strong, which is something that you can't see on TV.
The Anderson-Silva comparison misses the point. Islam isn't chasing Anderson's legacy, he's establishing his own. By winning on Saturday, Islam doesn't just tie a number, he contextualizes it differently. He becomes the first fighter to clear multiple divisions at the highest level and establish dominance at a new weight class simultaneously. That's compound achievement. If he retires after Garry, he leaves as potentially the most dominant version of himself in UFC history. If he continues, he sets records that become untouchable. Either way, Saturday determines the trajectory. Either way, this is Islam Makhachev's narrative moment. Garry's job is to disrupt it. What happens if Garry's footwork actually keeps him outside Islam's pressure for an entire round? What happens if he accumulates damage from striking and Islam's wrestling doesn't fully materialize until later? The fight isn't predetermined. Stylistically, Garry represents a genuine test because Islam can't solve this matchup the way he solved others. Belal Muhammad wore Garry down with grappling and pressure. Islam is a superior version of that archetype, but superior version and dominant victory aren't guaranteed. The height discrepancy, the physical difference, and Islam's 5-inch reach advantage create conditions where Islam will eventually control the space. But eventually is the operative word. The cage work will be the critical sequence to watch. Once Islam gets Garry to the fence and begins his chain wrestling sequences, the fight becomes Islam's to lose. Garry's scrambling will be tested at the highest level. His ability to create space off his back will be tested. His willingness to fight through positions rather than conserving energy becomes vital. Din Thomas notes that wrestling is the foundation, but the Dagestani intensity, the ability to apply pressure relentlessly through positions, is what separates Islam's approach from traditional wrestling frameworks. Islam doesn't just take you down. He suffocates you with pressure while you're on your back. But experts are split on whether Garry can. Din Thomas predicts Garry performs well initially, perhaps wins the first round, but deteriorates as the fight progresses and the pressure intensifies. Luke Thomas emphasizes that Garry's tools are elite at range, but insufficient once Islam penetrates his defense. Teddy Atlas acknowledges Garry's potential, but leans toward Islam's ability to adapt and eventually impose his grappling will. Bedtime MMA predicts a Makhachev unanimous decision, citing his overall skill set and the inevitability of his wrestling breaking down Garry's resistance as the fight extends into the championship rounds. Islam is chasing Anderson Silva's record, 16 consecutive wins. Islam is currently tied at that number. A victory over Garry breaks the record and establishes Islam as potentially the most dominant fighter of his generation. But here's what separates Islam from Anderson. He's doing it across weight classes. He's not just defending his belt repeatedly at one weight. He cleared 145. He cleaned out 155. He went to 170 and took the belt from the elite. That's compound difficulty. That's what pound for pound actually means. Anderson's record is impressive, but the divisional depth and context are different. Ian Garry came prepared for this matchup. His team has seen what Belal Muhammad did. His team understands the blueprint. His confidence level is high because he has specific answers for Islam's pressure sequencing. But confidence and execution are different. Confidence won't prevent the inevitable cage control. Confidence won't allow him to defend takedowns indefinitely. What Garry has is elite striking, elite footwork, and a physical frame that's difficult to work with. What Islam has is technical grappling superiority and the established methodology to break down every defensive framework his opponents build. Garry's leg speed is his key advantage. It's not just kicking. It's the velocity at which he switches angles, controls distance, and launches strikes from the outside. Din Thomas has identified this as potentially problematic for Islam. The speed of Garry's movement could trouble someone who's more accustomed to operating within the clinch and cage framework. Garry's footwork is excellent. His distance management is excellent. His series of lancing attacks from range keeps opponents off balance. But Luke Thomas makes a critical point. Garry's defense relies on preventing the takedown, not surviving it. If Garry gets taken down, he has to scramble immediately. He has to fight his way back to his feet. Accepting a position on his back against Islam is a death sentence. Teddy Atlas respects Garry's toughness and physical durability. He's shown the ability to absorb punishment and keep advancing. His recent wins over Belal Muhammad and Carlos Prates demonstrated that he can take damage. He doesn't break mentally. But the question is whether toughness can overcome Islam's grappling advantage. The mat is Islam's true domain. On the feet, it's a fight. On the ground, it's a problem. The striking will be fast. The cage work will be the deciding factor. Garry's game plan is to establish distance, land strikes, and avoid the fence for as long as possible. Islam's game plan is textbook: pressure, advance position, get to the cage, chain wrestle, take the back or establish top control, apply ground and pound or submission. One of them executes their game plan, one of them falls short. That's UFC 330. That's Islam Makhachev versus Ian Garry. That's the question. Does the elite striker with elite footwork survive the pressure, or does the pressure become inescapable? Garry's plan has to center on preventing Islam from establishing cage control in the later rounds. He has to use his footwork, his jab, and his distance to create perpetual space. He needs to land his strikes, make Islam chase him, and use his length to make Islam miss. If Garry allows Islam to turn this into a grinding grappling match, Islam's superior control and ground craft will accumulate. Garry gets taken down, Islam applies pressure. Garry scrambles back up, Islam resets and applies pressure again. That cycle favors the wrestler. Garry has to prevent the cycle from beginning. The cage work Islam brings is revolutionary. His team wrote the blueprint for how to weaponize fence pressure. It's not one move. It's a chain, underhook, body lock, head control, level change, then down to the legs. It's orchestrated, it's methodical, and we saw Islam Makhachev have genuine success with this approach against Garry multiple times, getting him trapped against the fence, initiating control sequences. But Bilal's striking isn't close to Islam's. Islam's pressure, Islam's accuracy, Islam's ability to generate power from short range changes the equation entirely. The retirement prediction looms over everything. Joe Rogan feels it. He senses it in Islam's demeanor. If Islam beats Garry convincingly, if he makes it look easy, it validates everything. It validates the record chase. It validates the championship runs, and it gives him a moment where walking away feels complete rather than premature. Khabib never got this opportunity at a higher weight class. Islam is about to. Whether he takes it is the question that makes UFC 330 matter. Beyond just another Islam Makhachev dominant performance. Islam Makhachev may never fight again after Saturday. Joe Rogan doesn't just think Islam will beat Ian Garry, he genuinely believes this is the moment Islam walks away. He's done it all, two-time champion across 2 weight classes. He's achieved what even Khabib couldn't, and if he submits Garry and decides he's had enough, the narrative shifts entirely. Islam steps into coaching. His legacy crystallizes. But here's the problem with that prediction. Ian Garry is the hardest stylistic matchup Islam has faced in his entire career. Islam Makhachev is pound for pound the #1 fighter on the planet right now, and the thing you can't see on television is his physical strength. Multiple fighters, Dustin Poirier, others at the highest level have spoken about his grip strength, his ability to control you once he gets hold of you, the way his pressure becomes inescapable. That's not hype, that's a fact from the canvas. But here's what makes Ian different. He's elusive on his feet. He doesn't let you get hold of him in the first place. He judges distance like a craftsman. Eventually, Garry's going to wind up with his back against the cage. That's Islam's blueprint. Lateral movement only carries you so far when you're facing someone operating at Islam's intensity level. Islam will apply pressure, advance his position systematically, and force Garry's back to touch canvas. The question becomes what happens once he's there. Can Islam land the takedown? Can he maintain top control? Can he damage Garry on the ground? Those are the variables that determine the fight's outcome. Ian Garry is a true welterweight, not a lightweight moving up. His physical dimensions represent something Islam hasn't solved yet at this weight class. He's long, rangy, moves with elite lateral footwork and possesses the kind of distance management that keeps grapplers at bay. When you watch Garry move, you don't see him getting pinned. His takedown defense isn't theoretical. He doesn't get taken down and held there. That's rare. That's the architecture Islam's entire game is built around exploiting.